I am so excited right now. Wait till you see what I just found. Everything is starting to grow really nicely with this warm weather, including the Alchemilla mollis, the lady's mantle. I have a bigger one right there and a smaller one off to the side right there. But right over here, this is very, very exciting. This is my blue Himalayan poppy, the mecanopsis, I believe Bailey. I do have 2 different varieties. And of course I cannot read the tag, but I know I have 2 different varieties. One is Lingholm and one is Bailey. These leaves were not here last week. So this has successfully survived the winter, which means it should flower this year. And it looks like the other one has also. I'm pretty sure this is a little bit different than that looked last week. Look at those baby little leaves. Now that tag, that one says Lingholm. All right, so this one is the Lingholm, which is on the right, little rhododendron, and over there, that means this one is Bailey. I cannot tell you how exciting this is. When I heard about this flower and I heard how difficult it was, well, of course that meant I had to give it a try, but it is spectacular. I'll find a photo to put up so that you can see what it's going to look like. I think it's in the 2 to 3 foot tall range, so it's a fairly significant plant, but that color, you just don't get that color in a lot of garden plants. It's also supposed to be much easier to start fresh seeds, so that means that if these ones flower and set seed, then I'll have a continuous supply and I'll be able to start those in the next year, or maybe in the fall too. Oh, it's actually really chilly there in the shade. So back to the task at hand, which luckily is in the sun, and it is actually eclipse day, which is awesome. We have clear skies and we are in the, I think, 96% range, so not totality, but close enough that it should be really cool. Found an Easter chocolate in my pocket. So the task at hand is finally planting the 11 trays of early spring flowers that I have out here in the greenhouse. Most of them are right here. I believe I have 8 trays of ranunculus to plant out and 3 trays of anemones. Now one of them, that one isn't quite ready. I planted those later, but these 2 trays are most definitely ready. So let's go have a look outside next and I'll show you where these are going to go. I almost forgot to uncover my tulips. I do put this mesh on most nights because there are deer around. They don't usually cause a lot of trouble, but I know they're around, so better safe than sorry. So there's my tulip bed. There are some hardy annual, biennial, some cool season flowers that survived the winter planted in here. Actually, it looks like I did have quite a bit of loss this year. The tulips were not planted last year, but this is where I had the tulips the year before, so looks like I missed some bulbs when digging them up. Same with this bed, which is going to be my overflow, and that bed over there is the one we're going to plant today. I think I'm going to need this today. So this bed is 4 foot by 8 foot. It's built on grass and it's built up a little bit because this is a really soggy area of the yard, so raised beds do make sense. And in the meantime, with all the wood chipping and a little bit of extra topsoil, we're going to build the ground up a little bit around it so that when these beds are starting to fall apart, we can just get rid of them and hopefully not need them anymore. But last year this housed all my garlic, and when that came out I planted a little bit of late squash. Didn't get a whole lot from it, but those were plants that I didn't have any room for anywhere else, so it wasn't a big loss. But it sat empty over the winter, so it's time to spruce it up a little bit and see how many of the ranunculus we can fit into this bed. I do feel the need to make it known that those garbage piles over there are my neighbors, not mine. But what can you do? That works pretty well. I just picked this up last week. I don't like to till, that's a little bit more intense than I like to go, but loosening it up is definitely beneficial. So I'm going to loosen this whole bed. I'm going to dump a little bit of manure on top and rake it smooth, and then we'll get to planting. So earlier this morning I popped into town and picked up some supplies. So we have 8 bags of manure, and this is the potting soil that I use at the moment. Everything from seed starting to potting. There is a little bit of nutrition in this manure, not a whole lot. You can treat it more as like a soil conditioner than anything else, and a little bit of organic matter, which is always a good thing. My favorite tool is probably this garden knife. It has a straight side on one edge and serrated on the other, and it is very sharp. Well, not so much now because it needs sharpening. I don't think I did that in the fall. But this thing is fantastic. I use it for planting, for weeding, for dividing and separating stuff. I definitely use only this 80% of the time. This probably isn't what it was meant for. This definitely isn't what it was meant for, but works great for that too. It will not, however, cut through cable ties, as I learned last week. You don't generally have to worry about using manure and planting straight into it at risk of burning your plants or anything like that. That's not really a risk with the stuff that you buy in bags. A lot of the time this stuff has sat around for quite a while. But if you're getting manure from a local source and it's very fresh, you can usually tell because it's often steaming when you get it still, then you're going to want to let it sit. You can dig it into your beds and then wait a couple of weeks. I'm just mixing it in until it's not that obvious dark black color on top. And then this is basically going to be ready to plant right into. There we go. Now we just need to go get the plants. So I brought out the 4 trays that had the most top growth. They are the most mature for sure. We'll see how many more we can fit. Probably another couple of trays, but let's start with those. Ranunculus, I don't even know if I mentioned what we were planting yet. These are ranunculus. They are an early spring blooming flower, and they like to bloom in May and June before the summer heat starts to kick in. At that point, the foliage is going to yellow and they're going to go dormant for the season. So getting them in the ground early is really important. I'm going to go with a 3-inch spacing this year, I think. Last year I went with 4, but what I noticed is you could see in between the plants. They don't really spread out all that wide, and being an early spring bloomer, they will stay happier if the soil stays a little more on the cool side. So if their foliage can meet and not leave any gaps, it will shade the soil better, keep it cooler, and then prolonging their blooming time before they start to go dormant in the summer. I've just decided that I need coffee first before we go and plant those. So I'm actually going to put this in the greenhouse for an after planting reward, and I'm going to be a little smarter and bring a bottle of water out with me. Back to work. Found this off of Amazon, by the way. Recommendation from another YouTuber. It is fantastic if you're like me and have a lot of hair. It's also a little bit cooler because the top is open. Not the most stylish thing, although I do love my big hats, but gets the job done. Also, I found more chocolate. Promise I don't just live on coffee and chocolate, guys. Honest. Still does not look like much from a distance. Chives are coming up really nicely though. Leave you there for later. Ideally we'd plant those 2 anemones and those 4 other trays of ranunculus. We'll see. I just want to get the 1 bed done today. 4 or even 6 trays planted. That would free up a lot of space in the greenhouse, which is great. Because after tomorrow night, which is supposed to dip slightly below freezing, it's supposed to be much warmer overnight. So there's a lot of things downstairs in my grow room that can come out and take that place. So this is just an all-purpose fertilizer. It's made from chicken manure. It says that it's approved for use in organic agriculture, which is good. That's what I'm aiming for. And I'm just going to sprinkle it over the top, and then it's going to get mixed in as we plant. Now this soil is fairly healthy, and with the addition of the manure and that fertilizer, that should be everything that these ranunculus need, at least until they stop blooming. And I like to keep them as healthy as possible because I do save these corms. About 2/3 of the ones that we're going to be planting were saved. Some of them I marked which ones were saved and which ones were not. It's a really loud crow. First planting of the year. They are probably going to be quite root bound. These ones maybe not so much. Let's see. Oh, that's not bad at all. Let's See how easily these pull apart. Oh, that's pretty good. So not a ton of top growth, but you can see the roots that are on there. So you don't want to leave them too long. So I'm going to do rows, but I'm still going to basically try to stick to a 3-inch spacing. It's easy to forget that these are perennial in some areas, and last year I successfully overwintered some inside that greenhouse, planted into the ground when there was still in-ground planting. They came through really well, and we had a really cold winter too. And I'm just burying the crown of the plant about an inch below soil level. That'll help regulate the moisture and the temperature. Some of these will definitely be divided at the end of the season. Well, I'm a little over half done, I think. So I've gone from white to light pink to dark pink, and I think I'm going to do the mixed ones next and do the cream, yellow, and mustard in a separate bed. But I need to get up and stretch my legs, so I'm going to have a little walk around the yard and see what's blooming. We've had crocus blooming for a couple of weeks, actually. They're pretty much done. I thought these ones got eaten by the bunny last year, but they seem to have survived. Oh, there's a bee. So this is not a blooming plant, but these are my perennial scallions. I think they were called evergreen hardy white scallions, maybe? I planted these seeds years ago. These are probably about ready for harvest. The upper garden is completely bare, but the shade garden back there has a lot of my early spring blooming perennials. I haven't cut anything back in here yet. There's some new foliage growing on the heucheras. I have 3 or 4 of these, also get eaten by the deer. There's one. I'm pretty sure this is squill. I always forget and have to go and look it up. Now these are almost ready to bloom. These are drumstick primulas. These are fantastic. I grew them from seed a few years ago, and they multiply a little bit every year. Uh-oh, those have been nibbled too. Have these been nibbled? No, those are just young leaves. Oh, there we have a nice little pink primula that's almost ready to bloom too. A little warmer weather and maybe 2 weeks, and there's going to be a lot more color in this bed. I have a lot of primulas. The snowdrops and crocuses are done. And what's this? Oh, that's another primrose. I do have ferns here too, but it'll be another 4 to 6 weeks probably before we start to see new foliage on that. All right, I'm better now. Time to get back to work. I really want that coffee though. I am all done. I fit 7.5 trays in that bed, which is almost all of them, and I have half a tray left, and I think I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. So here is my remaining tray, and here are my new pots. Well, this one I had the other day. You may have seen that one, and I did go back today and buy another one, including a small one. And my plan was to plant some vegetables. I have some lettuce and some green onions, actually they're right here, that need somewhere to go for sure. They are getting a little bit root bound, but I think I'm going to put the ranunculus in here. Yeah. Oh, there's just enough. That's perfect. Could stand to have about an inch or so more in here, but that's fine. I can top it off with a little bit of mulch. I'm just gonna get, where is my fertilizer? I do still need to water that bed, but loads of time. I just want to get these done. I'm gonna put a small handful in each. That should be fine. There. Now these last corms that are here are just labeled mixed. So I'm just gonna split them in half, and then I don't think I'm gonna divide them further. I'm just going to put them in just like that. There is no doubt that I probably have dirt on my face by now. Oh, I made a mess. What else is new? There we go. These are going to live in the greenhouse until they start to bloom, and then I might put them on the front step. Or maybe I'll leave them in the greenhouse. I'll decide when the time comes. I didn't totally center them in the pot, but they should fill out nicely. Oh yeah, that looks great on there. What do you think we should plant in that one? Maybe some greens, maybe just something pretty. This is what I've been waiting for the last 6 days. And there's a spider on it. This is probably still too hot to drink. Perfect. This is the perfect reward for a day full of planting. And I got it done just in time too. We are an hour and a half away from the eclipse. The kids just got home from school, and all I need to do is clean up a little bit, put my tools away, and go eat lunch. It's 3 o'clock and I haven't had lunch. So these anemones will go in a different bed. That second bed that I had prepared, I didn't actually need. I can't believe I fit all of the ranunculus into one 4x10 bed. It might be 4x12 actually. So I'm just doing some mental math here. I officially have room for 1, 2, 3, 4 more trays of seedlings. And I suppose I can always fit a bunch on the floor too. I did another large round of seed starting the other day, so the trick is getting enough things out here to the greenhouse to make room on my grow lights for the things that I seeded the other day before they start to pop up. So, all right, we've just been checking on the eclipse progress. It has started. It looks super cool, and we should be near totality. I think we're going to hit 96% or so in exactly 45 minutes, so that's going to be really cool. But my next project will be to deal with these greens that are under here, and I'll get the second bed planted with all those anemones and other cool flowers. So for now, we're going to go catch that eclipse, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.
I wonder how dark it's
Here, can you show me? Cool.
Put your glasses on. What if the birds are going to be messed up?
Oh, I feel like all of a sudden it got a little bit darker.
It did.
It did? Like just now?
It did. Wait, can each...
Just the,
Wow, it's just a sliver. I know. This is like this much.
This is about as dark as it's going to get, I think.
so busy moving.